Live. It's live today. YouTube. We were live. Throw a comment. Tell me if I am live. No accept. No accept. One, two. Oh, you know, let's start at the beginning. Three confirm. No accept. One, two. No accept. One, two. This is live. Seven, seven. Another seven. Eight, seven. All right. The stream is not off to a good start. Okay, let's go into content. Whatever happens, happens. So, pretty cool. There's so much, as I said at the start, that's what I think with, but I got way ahead of myself because I just jumped into it very real quick. Crypto mania, deflation, there's some serious fundamentals going on with so many incredible assets. This is not crypto stuff. There is meat and potatoes, so to speak, behind a lot of the assets that are hot. This is not 2017. This is not ICO utility-less assets. These assets have function. These functions are evolutionary compared to considering the legacy financial systems and frankly the history of transactions, which is something that I'm finding quite incredible that I've heard Santiago Perez talk about and shares these folks. When I heard him say particular terminology, I thought, what's up with my Noah check one, two.
Noah, check 1, 2. Noah, check 1, 2. Audio, audio. That's why the audio isn't working. Now it's working. Okay. So where was I? Nobody heard anything I said, and I'm 2 minutes in. It's okay. Center, focus. All right, so there's so many assets that are actually meaningful nowadays. It's absolutely fascinating. This is not 2017 ICO craze. This is disruptive of legacy financial systems, and frankly, some of these assets are exhibiting behavior that is meaningful considering the history of transactions. Period. This goes all the way back to barter, and I did a sentiment article about it the other day. Um, his what is 1 inch exchange and what is Uniswap, what is Kyber, what is Bancor, what is 0x doing? This is barter. I have an asset, someone else has an asset, and how they're facilitating the transaction. And what is 1 inch exchange and what is Maka from 0x doing? Those are aggregators of liquidity pools, and they're doing pathfinding. And that is something historically that was the reason barter failed. It couldn't scale. But the pathfinding is frankly dare I say a revolutionary technology. I think people are glancing over what it's doing, considering the history of the concept of trade and transactions. This is dare I say, revolutionary. And 1 inch and Maka are the ones doing it. We're off to a couple of questions. Yes, thank you. I'm happy the audio finally works. It took 2 minutes. I'll be better prepared tomorrow. I jumped into a quick trade. Why? Because I think this bad boy is going to break out. Let's see if it holds support. We're on reserve rights. I caught this one a little bit ago. Ooh, that was a nice 10% rip. Can't go wrong with a 10% rip. Todd says, agreed. Do you know any good accountants that are well versed in DeFi? No, nobody's going to know anything about what this stuff is. There's no way to there's no way to even remotely manage records, tax lots. That's not. There's no logical way to approach it. There's no software. The only companies that are handling taxes are some centralized some companies that are integrating with the centralized exchanges. But that's useless. Who's using centralized exchanges? I mean, frankly, a fair amount of people, but what does that even mean? It's a very philosophical question what people are doing and what's going on. The technology is available. So I don't have any recommendations. All I know is that the, the honor, the honor is if you convert anything to fiat and you spend fiat, you pay taxes. And to me, that is logical. And unless there was some sort of advice, some sort of software that was available to manage this, I don't, there's no even remotely reasonable way to approach it. So just be honorable, be transparent, and be honest. And I think that is the only possible way to proceed. There's no other possible way to proceed. Anyway, that's a good question. And it's something I think about because I do DeFi and I do jump into trades and snag a little bit here and there. I really hope this pops. I grabbed it on the breakout from the symmetrical triangle. Oh, let's take a look at the longer time frames real quick. Oh, it could break through resistance. We're still at a look at the RSI. And frankly, we're in a bullish divergence with the MACD. Nope, too zoomed in. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. 1 hour, we got a bullish MACD cross and a bullish RSI cross. And look at that. This thing could go through. I was a little early. I should have waited. I waited a little bit longer for RLC, and this worked out nicely because this thing ripped. That was a nice little win. Todd says, just don't want to build retirement and then get it taken or massively fined. Well, bear in mind, the crypto is not confiscatable, period. Hold your own keys. So it's just complicated. And the problem is the government is so incompetent. It's like, who do I call? Who do I ask? What do I do? How do I do it? What support is available to me? There's nothing. There's no support. The government is so antiquated that you actually have to tell them how much you owe them. I don't understand. I, and all we could do is behave responsibly, Todd. Those are good questions. You didn't have to retract them. Good stuff. Digibite or just nibble? What's up, my man? All right, so I got some nice attention. Bancor is going to send me some swag because I love Bancor V2. It is a game changer. I'm very curious to see how it plays out with their, not tokenomics, but protocol properties. Clearly, we know what's going on with Kyber. So the stake has decreased a little bit, but bear in mind, obviously, in the last 24 to 48 hours, this thing was down at 24 mil. It's up 24 million KNC, but it's bumped up 100%. So this is an incredible number. This is significant supply disruption. People are holding Kyber. And that's taking these assets off of exchanges, reducing liquidity, which is going to increase volatility. So I got all the charts up here. We'll take a peek at them real quick. I really hope burn 10% wins. It's at 41%. People are going for the reward 70%, and I don't agree with that. That's greedy. People are not seeing that the burn 10% has the potential for so much more returns than just a reward of 70%. It's short-sightedness, no doubt. So I threw my voting power in there. Nice little voting power. Anything on the top? Let's take a look real quick at the 7-day. Elrond's killing it. I don't know what the utility of Divi is. Chainlink, I got the chart up here. We're going to talk about it. Exact. Look at that bad boy, 30% bump over the last 7 days. Ooh, juicy. Good stuff. Anything else? Ripple's in the multi-year descending triangle. Love you, Komodo. Good stuff. Old school synthetics. They're in a bit of a lull right now, obviously, but 10% down on the 24 hours. I had a position at 70 cents. I think I sold the vast majority of it upwards at $2.80, $3, and then the final remaining bits at 245. Oh goodness, thank you, synthetics. Wonderful asset. The protocol properties and the platform, and the deflationary pressure associated with the SUSD Mint, absolutely incredible. It is a sophisticated platform. What they are building is incredibly intelligent and well thought out, and has the potential to disrupt New York Stock Exchange, and it does what that New York Stock Exchange does. Ethereum, this bad boy is gonna hit, and when it hits, it's gonna melt faces. The same with Bitcoin. Ethereum and Bitcoin are in a whole another caliber. They're basically a freight train of 1,000 cars with that momentum. It's gonna be spectacular. Love you, Ren. What's most fascinating about my Ren position is it's locked in. I have dark nodes, so there is no taking profits. It is you're in it for the long run. And that's crazy and cool. Fernando says, "Hello, what a day yesterday. Just crazy. One question. Could you please talk a bit about bear trap? What can we expect with a scenario like that?" So a bear trap is a temporary technical occurrence that's not consistent with the prevailing trend. Now, I got the Kyber chart up here, and this thing has been through a lot. Uh, Let me make sure it's saved. Save. I don't know why. Maybe I need to upgrade my TradingView account to the a premium version. I hope I don't lose those lines. I really don't want to redraw them right now. Say, look. Oh no, that's reserve rights. KNC BTC. You see, I lost the descending channel, but so this and Bancor, I find the most fascinating charts right now. This was a fat symmetrical triangle coming off of a descending, a falling wedge. Symmetrical triangle here, revealing the larger symmetrical triangle. It's since broken downward, which reveals a basically this more or less descending wedge, a descending channel, uh, give or take. Give or take. So I think this looks like a flag to me. When it pops, I don't know. You got to keep an eye on it. I mean, the fundamentals of what are absolutely fascinating. You got so much supply disruption. You got incentives. You got gains. You got yield. You got you got this. You got this. Where is it? You got bullish momentum. You got serious bullish momentum. And then you got a big old flag. You got to pull out the time frames to get a sense of what's going on. So this, I guess, in some regards, is a bear trap. If it breaks upwards, this is definitely definable as a bear trap. But look at these the short-term technicals. You got dips, you got rips, and this is stuff you don't necessarily want to play. What you want to do is accumulate. So you get the rip, you take profits on the dip, then you get the rip, and you accumulate. And this is how you accumulate. But you have to look at the data, and you have to protect your gains. Now, I talk about quite often the accumulation of assets for purposes of yield, and that is the goal. That is overwhelmingly the only logical play. There's no one in their right mind that wants to trade. Well, I take it back. There's plenty of people in their right mind or not right mind that want to just trade and that do that as a business. I think in my mind the goal is the accumulation of assets to produce recurring revenue streams. And we've talked a lot about that. Frank, my man in the house. I'll get the link. I got the chart up. Kyber last night. When this thing hit, when the epoch flipped, oh, I was up. It was 3 in the morning here in the Eastern Standard Time, and I was just watching this chart like a hawk because this was about it. We had a big rip to the upside, but it didn't break the formation. Look how complicated this formation is. 3 subformations revealing the larger trend. Absolutely fascinating. Did I have anything else in 7-day, 24-hour that I could mention? Let's see. Oh, Kusama, Polkadot, Cosmos. Ampleforth got screamed 23%, 30%. Oy, oy, oy. Sophisticated project. Watch the technicals. All right, so Bancor, one of my faves right now. Oy, oy, oy. I mean, the fundamentals are really what govern what I look at strongly. The fundamentals for V2 are utility function that changes not just the DeFi. sector, but it's an industrial function. Uh, all of this I see as testnet. It's like testnet, testing these functions and features with a couple $100 million. This is baby cakes compared to the volume of the macro world. So that's why I see this all as testnet, and it's overwhelmingly functional. It's incredible the utility and technology that these projects are proving works. These are disruptive technologies. Look at this. We had a falling wedge revealing a larger symmetrical triangle, which broke to the upside. And if you zoom in here, take a peek. Look, it broke to the upside, fell through back into the symmetrical triangle, but then used it as support. And now we're on support of the the ascending channel as well as a symmetric triangle. This is a very interesting position. Look at that. Look at that. So keep an eye on Bancor. I'm very interested in if they go for a little bit of an inflationary model for the incentivization of like staking, which has an incredible deflationary effect, which is exactly what goes on with synthetics. There's an inflationary component, a decaying inflationary component to synthetics, where they cap it at 2.5% in 2023. But because of the incentives being applied to minting of SUSD, the cumulative behavior of the asset is deflationary. Something like 60-70% is it is experiencing with regard to supply disruption. Um, these are choices. We'll see what happens, but the protocol is mutually exclusive, or the V2 with regard to the avoidance of impermanent loss is mutually exclusive from any protocol properties that either encourage or discourage appreciation with regard to either an inflationary property or a deflationary property. Kyber is just ridiculously deflationary. This thing has 30% supply disruption in a week. Absolutely incredible. Let's take a look at the comments real quick. Frank says, "Same. I felt bear emotion try to take me. Fact, the number of top addresses has been accumulating. Yes. Go over Santiment. Santiment has ridiculous metrics. They have some serious fundamental metrics." And I don't even see them as technical because it really gives you an insight into the macro psychology and behavior of these markets from a very top-down perspective. Absolutely incredible the information that's available on Santiment. I'll post a referral link in the Twitter feed a little later today. Quite busy. Um, iExec RLC. This is really cool. Santiago Velez would love this company because he talks often about decentralized compute, and that's pretty much what iExec is. There's a variety of projects that do things like this. So this is a project definitely that I keep my eye on. And frankly, look, follow the technicals. You got the symmetric triangle, you got the break, and bam, you got the rip. Um, you know, you don't I didn't hold this rip. Let's take a look real quick. At the 3 minute, just think of pop again. I mean, bear in mind you got a double top there on the short term. On the 1 hour, look at this on the 1 hour. The RSI looks like it's primed to rip up another 10%. And the MACD, it's got plenty of room to go. Ooh. And the 4 hour. 4 hour, look at this. Well, it's not, it's confluence. Look at the ascending trend and the ascending trend. That is a long-term ascending trend. Even with the RSI as an ascending trend, it didn't go all the way down to zero. Yeah, very powerful technology. Reserve rights is really cool because it's a stable coin. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have jumped into a position immediately before a stream. I sure as heck this holds a support. I mean, look, the way I look at this is on the 1 hour, the resistance here should extend. If it holds at support, it'll extend past the resistance of the top end of the skewed symmetric triangle, and that should allow it to break through. which will affect the sentiment of the investor population. And given that the MACD is seriously bottomed out, you have a bullish divergence on the RSI, this thing could rip. And that's how you play these breakouts. On the short term, let's take a look at the daily real quick. I mean, the daily look, this thing is just going. Bullish on the RSI, bullish on the MACD, bullish on the price. Boom, boom, boom. Look at the staircase pattern. That's what you always want to look for on the longer term patterns. Yeah, so this is something to keep an eye on. In fact, I took a small position. Look at this. This is really cool. In the 4 hour, you got the resistance down here, which is acting as support. So, and look at the RS. The Stoke is bottomed out. This thing's going to bounce. And this thing easily in the next 1 hour, as the resistance breaks, passes over the top resistance of the symmetric triangle, it could punch through. Between the 4 hour and the 1 hour, this looks like a good chart for a speculative bet, for a breakout bet. It's my pleasure, Fernando. I just saw your comment. Someone asked me about Link. Here we go with a little Link. Oh, I haven't been looking. You got a bullish break. Look at the symmetric triangle. So the Stoke RSI has bottomed out. So you got a bullish break on a bottomed out Stoke, albeit if you, this is on the 1 minute. What am I looking at? On the 30. Oh, yeah, this is something to play. Appreciative price as an ascending slope. You got the RSI that's extending. So this is all confluence that it's going to push. And the RSI's got plenty of room to run. The MACD looks good. Bump out the time frame. Not too much room to run on the hourly. This doesn't look like, oh, holy goodness. This is something to watch. I mean, obviously, you got to take the macro into consideration. And the Link is a max cap. This thing is a max cap. This thing is not running 50, 100% in the short term. It's just not. You can't bet on it that it will. Of course, anything can happen, but that's not the bet I would want to take. I would bet on a mid cap like Bancor running 500% before I bet on Link going 50%. Bancor is at more or less 100 mil. And 500% I'll put it at a half a bill. And who knows what Chainlink is at. Let's take a look. Chainlink is at 2.3 bill. For it to go 50%, it's a 1.5 billion. No, that's not the bet I would like to take. But this is a nice chart. You could get 3, 4, 5, 6%. There's no reason you can't get a good rip, but you're not going to get a rip like this. You're not going to get a 10% rip in 10 seconds. That's just not the way it works. Synthetics has been under the gun, albeit it does look like it's finally about to break through on the 15-minute. RSI is topped out. Looks bullish on the MACD, so there's confluence for some nice strength. But yeah, that's going to bounce, and you'll see it. You'll see it, boom. And let's take a look at the 1 hour. No, that's not going to break through. Albeit the MACD. Bump out to the 4 hour. No, there's just not enough chart. Not enough chart. Lend, Ave Lend. So you got a fat symmetric triangle here. These are the types of patterns you got to look at. Coming off all this bullish momentum for the last couple weeks, if not a month or two, these are the types of patterns, like an ascending triangle or a symmetric triangle or a falling wedge. The odds are that it'll take a rip to the upside, and this is what you play. And the whole goal is to accumulate. You want to accumulate, obviously, the Bitcoin. You want to accumulate the Ethereum. You want to assess the relative volatility of yield-bearing assets like Kyber. Kyber I absolutely love, but it's extremely volatile, so it could rip down. So you have to be very careful. and any of the altcoins, so to speak, can rip because what happens when Ethereum starts to rip? It could either rip with alts or it could take the cap the value from alts and consume it, which is logical because people are usually buying alts with Ethereum, and if Ethereum starts pumping, they're going to sell their alts into the pump of Ethereum. So you have to take that into consideration. So if you really want like stable gains, you're going for Bancor V2, an impermanent loss, minimized liquidity positions where you're providing liquidity, or you want to go into Aave where you're lending. These are risk minimized types of positions. Um, and that's it. That's period. And that's the goal. The goal is if you could get enough money accumulated, value, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, and maybe even stable coins, DAI, um, uh, there's a variety of new XUSD, Haven, Kava, and reserve rights. Let's see what it's doing. Let's see if it holds reserve. So reserve is quite interesting. So if you accumulate enough of these and you're able to lend them for yield, that's the goal because they have minimized volatility. The goal is to have assets that have minimal volatility, but you're able to lend for percentage points on the APY. All right, we got 4 minutes left. Uh, Golden says just a lunchtime masterclass on TA. Well, it's a little bit of everything because it's not just TA. You got to understand the fundamentals. You got to understand the large macro narrative of what these projects are and what they're doing. And look, by far one of the strongest fundamentals in the entire crypto space is Kyber right now. It's deflationary, like ridiculously deflationary. And frankly, synthetics has that characteristic, which is why synthetics is up 400-500% in the last month. Um, that's everything, and it's the contrary to what the U.S. government does with the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. They're inflating, printing, expanding the monetary base, whereas these assets are literally destroying the monetary base, reducing supply. Absolutely incredible. When you guys get a chance, take a look at Bitfinian, Bitfine on.com. This is old school. This is Alquo back in the day. They started this basically like late 2016, 2017, if time frame serves me correct. But so many people thought they weren't going to make it, and this is an absolutely gorgeous centralized exchange. Now, obviously, everyone knows my affinity for decentralized exchanges, but if you're going to use a centralized exchange, at least one that does not have KYC. They have no KYC. The volumes are extremely low. They're just starting out, but they have some interesting things like Sharepool. They have masternodes, and this is because it's a robust ecosystem that they've contemplated planets. You can look it up, and it dates back years, and they made it. It's very exciting, and they should be very proud because they had to get funding to build something like this, and they did. And that's interesting from a macro fundamental analysis perspective because you're not going to get funding unless you got something that convinces venture capital to give you money. They got something. Look at this beautiful interface. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, love my dexes. I don't touch centralized exchanges at all, but this definitely catches my eye. The simplicity is incredible, and the color palette is beautiful. Definitely worthwhile to take a peek. Exact as I talked about, clearly it ripped, snagged about 10% earlier. This is decentralized compute. Santiago Velez, follow him on Twitter. He's one of the smartest people in the room. This thing, just watch the chart. Many things could appreciate over time, but as I always say, fall back on the fundamentals. Look at the currency properties, inflationary, deflationary. Is there yield involved? And these are types of incentives that reduce liquidity, reduce supply, and that is going to trigger inherent price appreciation. Now, obviously, adoption and use of the product is the same. It's going to increase consumption, which is use of the platform as a utility. So, there are a lot of things to consider when taking positions, but just remember Just remember, protect your gains. Look at this bad boy. I nailed it a little late. It was broken out already, which is actually decent from a confirmation perspective. And I sold it right up here, and it's pulled back since then. This thing is coming. A bullish break like this is bullish momentum. It's going to find the base and it's going to rip. It's going to rip again. You just got to watch the chart and watch for new trend pattern formations. And where are we? Reserve rights. Look at that bad boy holding at support. Look at that. This is all sentiment. This is all psychological. All this TA. This. It's not just the line. This plays into the psychology of persons looking at price, and that is what technical analysis reveals. It's a mass. It's a vantage point into the mass psychology of the people playing in the market. All right, always a pleasure. 12:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, July 14th, almost halfway to August. Incredible. I have no doubt I'm going to be busy on Twitter. Hit me up with some questions, and I'm more than happy to talk about any topic. Tomorrow's another day. Thank you for joining. Subscribe, thumbs up, tweet about it. Say, tell people to join us. We have a good old time. You have a good afternoon, everybody. Peace.